The crash of silverware against fine china echoed through the upscale restaurant, as Finn Carter watched in horror when the elegant woman at the next table suddenly clutched at her throat. Her face flushed crimson before rapidly paling to a sickly white, lips swelling visibly even from where he sat with his daughter. In that moment, the struggling single father of a 9-year-old didn't see a stranger, he saw a human being in desperate trouble. "Emma, stay here," Finn instructed his daughter firmly, already on his feet and moving toward the woman's table where her dining companions appeared frozen in shock. "Madam, are you allergic to something?" Finn asked, kneeling beside her chair as her panicked eyes locked with his. She managed a frantic nod, one hand clawing at her purse while the other remained at her throat. "Pen," she choked out, the words barely audible as her airways constricted. Finn dumped the contents of her designer handbag onto the white tablecloth, immediately spotting the epinephrine auto-injector. With practiced movements from his first aid training at the construction site, he removed the cap and pressed the device against her outer thigh, holding it firmly for several seconds as he'd been taught. "Someone call 911. He shouted to the gathering crowd of onlookers, his hand now holding the woman's as she struggled for breath. "It's going to be okay. Help is coming," he reassured her, though he could see the fear in her eyes hadn't subsided. The epinephrine would buy time, but she needed medical attention immediately. Only later, after the paramedics had whisked her away and the restaurant manager had gratefully comped his and Emma's modest meal, did Finn learn he'd saved Katherine Ainsworth, CEO of Ainsworth Innovations, one of the city's fastest-growing tech companies. "You were so brave, Dad," Emma said, squeezing his hand as they walked to the bus stop. The dinner had been a special treat to celebrate Emma's perfect report card, a rare splurge for Finn, who had been struggling to make ends meet since his wife's death 3 years ago. "Anyone would have done the same, sweetheart," he replied, though in truth, he'd noticed how everyone else had hesitated while he acted. It wasn't anything special, he thought. Just basic human decency and the quick reflexes he'd developed raising a daughter on his own while working construction jobs that barely covered their modest apartment's rent. Little did Finn know that his simple act of courage would alter the course of his life forever. 3 days later, Finn was laying tile in a luxury bathroom renovation when his foreman approached with an unusual message. "Carter, there's someone asking for you at the front office. Says she's from Ainsworth Innovations." Finn's brow furrowed as he set down his trowel and wiped his hands on his already dusty jeans. He couldn't imagine why anyone from a prestigious tech company would be looking for him. In the site office trailer, a professional-looking woman in a tailored suit stood examining the construction schedule posted on the wall. "Mr. Carter, I'm Melissa Woods, executive assistant to Katherine Ainsworth," she said, extending her hand. "Miss Ainsworth would like to thank you personally for your assistance the other night. Would you be available for dinner this evening?" Finn's immediate thought was of Emma. "I'd need to bring my daughter. I'm a single parent and it's a school night, so Miss Ainsworth specifically mentioned your daughter would be welcome," Melissa interrupted smoothly, handing him a business card with an address written on the back. 7 o'clock at this address. It's Miss Ainsworth's home. She prefers to avoid restaurants for the moment." After Melissa left, Finn stared at the card in his calloused hands. The address was in Hillcrest Heights, the most exclusive neighborhood in the city. "Dad, we need to get you something nicer to wear," Emma insisted that afternoon as they hurriedly shopped at a discount store after he'd picked her up from her after-school program. "You can't meet a CEO wearing your weekend jeans." Finn chuckled at his daughter's sudden concern for fashion. At 9, Emma was already showing signs of the practical, organized woman she would one day become so much like her mother, it sometimes made his heart ache. "I think this is as good as it gets on short notice," he said, examining himself in a slightly wrinkled button-down shirt and the only pair of non-work pants he owned. They weren't fancy, but they were clean and intact. It would have to do. The taxi ride to Hillcrest Heights cost nearly as much as their entire shopping trip, but Finn had decided this was a special occasion worth the expense. As they approached the address, Emma pressed her face against the window, eyes wide at the sprawling modern mansion set back from the street behind tasteful landscaping and a security gate. "Are we really going in there?" she whispered as the taxi stopped at the intercom. Finn swallowed hard, suddenly feeling completely out of place. "I guess we are, kiddo." The gates swung open after he gave his name, and the taxi proceeded up a curved driveway to a home that looked like it belonged in an architectural magazine. Finn paid the driver, adding a tip that strained his budget but seemed necessary given the circumstances, then took Emma's hand as they approached the front door. Before they could ring the bell, the door opened to reveal Katherine Ainsworth herself. Gone was the elegant but frightened woman from the restaurant. Here stood a confident, naturally beautiful woman in simple but obviously expensive casual clothing, her dark hair falling in loose waves around her shoulders. "Mr. Carter," she said warmly, her voice rich and melodious without the strain of anaphylaxis. "And you must be Emma. Please come in. I've been looking forward to thanking you both properly." Finn was immediately struck by how Catherine's eyes lingered on his face, not with the dismissive glance he often received from wealthy clients at construction sites, but with genuine interest and warmth. "Please call me Finn," he managed to say as they entered a soaring foyer with a view straight through to a spectacular city vista beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. "Then I'm Kate," she replied with a smile that transformed her already beautiful face into something that made Finn's heart skip a beat. "Everyone calls me Katherine in business settings, but my friends call me Kate." Emma, normally shy around strangers, seemed immediately comfortable as Kate knelt to her level and asked about her interests. Within minutes, they were chatting like old friends about Emma's science project while Finn watched in amazement. The dinner that followed was served by a private chef in a dining room that could have accommodated 20, but had been set intimately for 3. Kate had clearly done her homework, as the menu featured perfectly prepared but child-friendly options that delighted Emma. "So the doctors said if you hadn't acted so quickly, I might not have made it," Kate explained as they enjoyed dessert. "The shellfish was cross-contaminated with something in the sauce. I'm usually extremely careful, but—" She shook her head. "I owe you my life, Finn." "Anyone would have," he began. "No," Kate interrupted gently. "They wouldn't have. The restaurant security footage showed everyone else frozen in shock. You were the only one who moved without hesitation." She looked at Emma with a warm smile. "Your father is a hero." Emma beamed with pride. "He's always my hero," she said simply, causing Finn's chest to tighten with emotion. After dinner, Kate suggested Emma might enjoy seeing the home theater room where there was a special dessert bar set up with ice cream and toppings. A friendly housekeeper named Maria offered to show her the way. "Is that okay, Dad?" Emma asked, clearly excited by the prospect. "Sure, sweetheart, just don't go overboard on the sugar. We still have school tomorrow," Finn reminded her, watching as she happily followed Maria down the hallway. Alone with Kate on the terrace overlooking the city lights, Finn felt suddenly self-conscious. "You've gone to a lot of trouble for a simple thank you," he said, accepting the coffee she offered. Kate's expression grew serious as she sat across from him at the small table. "It's not just gratitude, Finn, though I am eternally grateful." She hesitated, seeming uncharacteristically uncertain for a woman who reportedly commanded boardrooms with ease. "When I saw you in that restaurant, even before what happened, I noticed you." "Me?" Finn couldn't hide his surprise. "You and Emma, the way you treated her like an equal, the way you listened to her stories. I saw a father who clearly adores his daughter." Kate's fingers traced the rim of her coffee cup. "Then you saved my life without a second thought. I wanted to know more about the man who would do that." Finn felt heat rising to his cheeks. "So you researched me." "Nothing invasive," Kate assured him quickly. "Just enough to know you're a widower raising your daughter alone, working as a master tile setter for Carson Construction. Your colleagues speak highly of your work ethic and skill." "And now that you know all that," Finn asked, unsure where this conversation was heading. Kate met his eyes directly. "Now I'd like to offer you a job. Ainsworth Innovations is renovating our headquarters, and we need someone to oversee the tile and stonework installations." The position pays significantly more than your current job, includes full benefits, and would offer more regular hours for you and Emma. Finn's mind reeled at the unexpected offer. Better pay, benefits, and hours would transform their lives. No more choosing between new shoes for Emma or paying the electric bill. No more missed school events because of mandatory overtime. That's incredibly generous, he said carefully. But I have to ask, is this charity because you feel you owe me? Kate's expression remained steady. This is business, Finn. I've seen your work portfolio. You're exceptionally talented and I need someone with your expertise. The gratitude is separate, though I won't pretend it didn't lead me to discover your skills. Finn considered her words. I'd need to think about it, talk to Emma. Of course, Kate nodded, sliding a folder across the table. All the details are in here. Take your time. As they collected Emma, who had indeed gone overboard on ice cream toppings, and prepared to leave, Kate walked them to the door. One more thing, she said, handing Finn an envelope. Tickets to the Natural Science Museum's new exhibit opening this weekend. Emma mentioned she's interested in marine biology. It's a private event, but I'm on the board. I thought you both might enjoy it. Finn started to protest, but the excitement on Emma's face stopped him. Thank you, he said instead, accepting the envelope. That's very thoughtful. Perhaps I'll see you there, Kate said with a smile that suggested she very much hoped they would attend. On the taxi ride home, another one, Kate had insisted on arranging and paying for despite Finn's objections. Emma couldn't stop talking about Kate's amazing house, her kindness, and how she asks questions and really listens to the answers, Dad, just like you do. Later that night, after Emma had finally fallen asleep, Finn sat at their small kitchen table reviewing the job offer. The salary was nearly double what he currently earned, with benefits that would cover Emma's asthma medication completely rather than the partial coverage they struggled with now. But something else kept drawing his attention away from the paperwork: the memory of Kate's smile, the intelligent warmth in her eyes, and the genuine interest she'd shown in both him and Emma. For the first time since losing his wife, Finn found himself thinking about a woman in a way that felt like more than just passing appreciation. The thought both excited and terrified him. The museum event that weekend proved to be another turning point. Kate greeted them with genuine pleasure, personally guiding them through the exhibit and introducing Emma to the lead marine biologist, who answered her endless questions with patient enthusiasm. She's remarkably bright, Kate said quietly to Finn as they watched Emma examining a touch tank with careful concentration. She gets that from her mother, Finn replied automatically, then felt a pang of something like guilt. Kate seemed to sense his discomfort. Tell me about her. Emma's mother, she said gently. No one had asked about Sarah in a long time. Most people avoided the topic of his late wife, unsure how to navigate the potential emotional minefield. But Kate asked directly, with sincere interest. As they walked slowly behind Emma, Finn found himself sharing the story of meeting Sarah in college, their simple wedding, the joy of Emma's birth, and the devastating cancer diagnosis when Emma was just 6. He spoke of Sarah's courage through treatment and how they'd tried to make every remaining day count for Emma's sake. The hardest part was telling Emma, Finn admitted, his voice rough with emotion. Sarah insisted on doing it herself. She told Emma that even though she wouldn't be here in person, she'd always be watching over her. That stars were really just the eyes of people who loved us looking down. Kate's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. That's beautiful, she said softly. Now I understand why Emma wanted to show me Orion's belt last night from the terrace. She said those 3 stars were special. That was Sarah's favorite constellation, Finn confirmed, touched that Emma had shared that with Kate. The afternoon passed quickly, and when Kate suggested dinner afterward, neither Finn nor Emma wanted the day to end. Over pizza at a casual restaurant Kate had chosen, because sometimes CEOs just want good pizza, Finn found himself accepting the job offer. I start in 2 weeks, he told Emma as they shared a dessert. And the best part is, I'll be home every night by 6. Emma's excited hug was all the confirmation he needed that he'd made the right decision. The next month brought dramatic changes to the Carter household. The new job allowed them to move to a brighter, safer apartment closer to Emma's school. Weekend outings with Kate became a regular occurrence, from museum visits to hiking trails to impromptu cooking lessons in Kate's expansive kitchen. Emma blossomed under the additional female attention, confiding to Finn one night, "I think Kate really likes us, Dad. Really likes us." Finn had been wondering the same thing. Kate's interest seemed to extend beyond gratitude or even friendship, but he hesitated to presume. The gulf between their worlds seemed vast. She ran a multi-million-dollar technology company while he installed tile, albeit now as a project manager for her company. His uncertainty came to a head during a company gala 6 months after he'd started working for Ainsworth Innovations. As project manager for the headquarters renovation, Finn was expected to attend, and Kate had insisted Emma come too, arranging for a special children's area with supervision for the employees' families. Watching Kate command the room in an elegant blue gown, confidently discussing business with investors and partners, Finn felt the distance between them acutely. She caught his eye across the room several times, each glance sending a jolt through him, but he reminded himself she was his employer. Any misinterpretation on his part could be disastrous. As the evening wound down, Kate found him on the balcony where he'd escaped for a moment of quiet. "You've been avoiding me," she said without preamble, joining him at the railing. "I haven't been," Finn began, but Kate's raised eyebrow stopped his protest. "Okay, maybe a little. This isn't exactly my comfort zone." "And what is your comfort zone, Finn?" she asked, stepping closer. The subtle scent of her perfume made it hard for him to concentrate. "Working with my hands." "Being with Emma. Simple things," he answered honestly. Kate studied him for a long moment. "Do I make you uncomfortable?" Finn met her gaze directly. "You make me feel things I haven't felt in a very long time, and that terrifies me." The honesty of his admission hung in the air between them. Kate's expression softened. "I understand," she said quietly. "I haven't allowed myself to feel this way about anyone in years. It's easier to be CEO Katherine than just Kate." She looked out at the city lights. "But when I'm with you and Emma, I remember who I am beneath the title." Finn's heart raced as he processed her words. "Kate, Dad," Emma's excited voice interrupted as she burst onto the balcony. "They're doing ice cream fountains inside. Oh, hi, Kate, your dress is so pretty." The moment broken, Kate laughed and took Emma's hand. "Ice cream fountains sound perfect. Shall we, Mr. Carter?" she asked, extending her free hand to Finn. He took it, feeling the warmth of her fingers intertwined with his, and allowed himself to be led back into the gala, wondering what might have happened if Emma had arrived a minute later. He didn't have to wonder long. The following Sunday, Kate invited them for what had become a regular dinner at her home. After the meal, she suggested Emma might enjoy watching a new documentary in the theater room while the adults had coffee. Once they were alone, Kate turned to him with uncharacteristic nervousness. "Finn, there's something I need to say, and I hope it doesn't complicate things." She took a deep breath. "I've developed feelings for you that go beyond friendship or professional respect. I understand if you don't feel the same way, or if it's too soon after Sarah, or if the fact that I'm technically your boss makes this inappropriate." Finn silenced her uncharacteristic rambling by gently taking her hand. "Kate," he said softly, "I've been trying to talk myself out of falling for you since that first dinner. It hasn't worked." The relief on her face was immediate and profound. "Really, really," he confirmed, "but there are complications. Emma has to be my priority." "And the company, Emma, is part of why I fell for you," Kate interrupted. "The way you are with her shows me exactly the kind of man you are. As for the company, there are solutions. We can move your position to report to the facilities director instead of directly to me." Finn smiled at her practical approach to removing obstacles. "You've thought this through." "I'm a CEO. Strategic planning is what I do," she replied with a small smile, then grew serious again. "But this isn't a business decision for me, Finn. This is about how you make me feel seen, understood, valued for more than what I can do or provide." When Finn leaned forward to kiss her, the connection was immediate and powerful. Kate's hand came up to rest against his cheek as she responded with a tenderness that belied the strength he knew she possessed. They broke apart at the sound of a small gasp from the doorway. Emma stood there, wide-eyed but not upset. "Emma," Finn began, unsure how to explain. His daughter looked between them, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Finally," she exclaimed. "I told Grandma you two were in love weeks ago." Kate's surprised laughter broke the tension. "Is that right?" she asked, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Duh," Emma said with the exaggerated patience of a 9-year-old explaining the obvious. "Dad looks at you the way people look at each other in Disney movies, and you always touch his arm when you laugh at his jokes, even the really bad ones." Finn felt his face warm. "My jokes aren't that bad." "They kind of are, Dad," Emma said, then grew more serious. "Does this mean Kate's going to be my stepmom someday?" "Emma," Finn exclaimed, mortified by his daughter's directness. Kate, however, didn't seem flustered. She walked over to Emma and knelt to her level, just as she had that first night. "Emma, I care very deeply for both you and your dad, but relationships take time to grow. What would you think if we just started by spending more time together and seeing where things go?" Emma considered this with impressive maturity. "I'd like that, but you should know if you hurt my dad's feelings, I'll be very disappointed in you." "Emma Carter," Finn began to scold, but Kate held up a hand to stop him. "That's completely fair," she told Emma solemnly. "Your dad is lucky to have such a fierce protector." "We protect each other," Emma replied, then added with a mischievous grin, "but I think our team could use one more person." Over the following year, their lives gradually intertwined more completely. Kate became a fixture at Emma's school events, while Finn grew comfortable enough in Kate's world to accompany her to business dinners, where his straightforward charm often won over her most difficult colleagues. They moved thoughtfully, both aware of Emma's need for stability and their own need to build a solid foundation. Kate began staying over at their apartment some weekends, making pancakes with Emma on Sunday mornings, while Finn watched in amazement at how seamlessly she had integrated into their lives. For Emma's 10th birthday, they planned a special celebration at Kate's home, inviting Emma's friends for a supervised swim party in the pool while the adults gathered on the terrace. As Finn watched Kate patiently teaching Emma's best friend to float on her back, he felt a certainty settle over him. "She's remarkable with the kids," his mother observed, following his gaze. "She's remarkable with everyone," Finn replied, "but especially with Emma." His mother studied him knowingly. "Sarah would approve, you know. All she ever wanted was for you both to be happy." Finn nodded, feeling the familiar pang at Sarah's memory, but now accompanied by gratitude rather than just loss. "I know." That evening, after the party had ended and Emma had finally fallen asleep in the bedroom that had gradually become hers at Kate's house, Finn found Kate on the terrace gazing up at the stars. "Looking for Orion?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Kate leaned back against his chest. "Emma was showing me where to find it, even though it's not really visible this time of year. She has quite the imagination." "She says Sarah helps her find it anyway," Finn said softly. Kate turned in his arms to face him. "She told me something today that made me cry. She said she asked Sarah the stars if it was okay that she loved me too, and that she saw a shooting star right after. She took it as a yes." Finn felt his throat tighten with emotion. "Emma has always been better at this than me. It took me longer to believe I could love again without somehow dishonoring Sarah's memory. And now," Kate asked, her eyes searching his, "now I know that love doesn't divide. When you share it, it multiplies." Finn reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment." Kate's eyes widened as he opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. "It's not as fancy as what you could probably buy yourself," Finn said with a self-deprecating smile. "But it's perfect," Kate interrupted, her eyes shimmering with tears. Finn took a deep breath. "Katherine Ainsworth, you came into our lives unexpectedly, and now I can't imagine our future without you. Will you marry me and officially make our team of 2 a team of 3? "Yes," Kate whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Absolutely yes." As he slipped the ring onto her finger, Finn glanced up at the night sky and saw a faint streak of light, a shooting star. Perhaps Sarah was giving her blessing after all. Their wedding 6 months later was an intimate affair held in the garden of what had become their home, as Kate had insisted on selling her mansion in favor of a more family-friendly house with a backyard where Emma could have a dog. Emma served as both flower girl and her father's best person, beaming with pride as she stood beside him at the altar in her vows. Kate spoke words that touched everyone present. "Finn, when you saved my life that night, neither of us could have imagined where that moment would lead. You gave me the gift of survival, but more importantly, you and Emma have given me the gift of belonging, of family, of unconditional love that asks for nothing in return except honesty and kindness. I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of that gift." Finn's vows were simpler but no less heartfelt. "Kate, you came into our lives when we needed healing but didn't know how to ask for it. You never tried to replace what we lost, but instead helped us build something new and beautiful alongside those memories. I promise to stand beside you through whatever challenges we face, to support your dreams as you've supported ours, and to remind you every day that beneath the CEO is the woman we love, just Kate." There wasn't a dry eye in the gathering when Emma stepped forward for the family unity ceremony they'd created, where the three of them combined different colored sands into a single vessel. "The colors stay separate," Emma explained to the guests, reciting the words she'd helped write, "but they make something more beautiful together than they could apart. Like us." 2 years later, the family of 3 became 4 with the birth of Thomas Finn Carter, named after Kate's late father. Emma, now 12 and fiercely protective of her baby brother, proudly told anyone who would listen the story of how her parents met. "My dad saved my mom's life, and then she saved ours," she would say with the wisdom of a child who had experienced both loss and healing. On the 5th anniversary of that fateful dinner, where Finn had administered the life-saving epinephrine, the family returned to the restaurant, now partly owned by Kate's company, as a diversification investment. "I never come here without remembering how close I came to missing all of this," Kate said, reaching across the table to take Finn's hand while Emma entertained little Thomas with silly faces. Finn squeezed her fingers, the gold of his wedding band catching the light. "I think about that sometimes too, how the smallest moments can change everything. Do you ever regret it?" Kate asked playfully. "Saving the demanding CEO who turned your life upside down." Finn's gaze swept over their children, then back to the woman who had brought such unexpected joy into their world. "Best impulsive decision I ever made," he said with a grin. "Though technically, Emma deserves some credit. If she hadn't gotten straight A's, we wouldn't have been celebrating at a restaurant we couldn't really afford." "I heard that," Emma piped up. "And you're welcome. I expect to be mentioned prominently in your anniversary speech tonight." Kate laughed, the sound still capable of making Finn's heart skip a beat after all these years. "Emma Carter, you are definitely mentioned in every story worth telling in this family." As they continued their meal, surrounded by the warm glow of candlelight and love, Finn reflected on the journey that had brought them here from a moment of crisis to a lifetime of connection. He had once been a struggling single father, living paycheck to paycheck, wondering if he would ever feel complete again. Now he understood that completeness wasn't something you found in another person, it was something you built together, day by day, through challenges and triumphs alike. What he and Kate had created with their blended family wasn't perfect, but it was perfectly theirs. And that made all the difference.